What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Yesterday, we had that PlayStation 5 reveal event, and it's pretty much what most of us were hoping it would be, which was just game reveal after game reveal after game reveal, and then some gameplay thrown in there, and hey, the big console reveal along with a bunch of accessories at the end. I think it's a good way to really kick off the sprint to the PlayStation 5's release this holiday. I mean, it was pretty good. So we're gonna go over all the different games that were shown there. There were even a lot of like indie games as well, which was pretty cool to see those thrown in to some of the really big ones like Demon's Souls or Resident Evil 8 or Resident Evil Village. A lot of stuff here to go over. So we're gonna go over the games and the hardware all at once, just in case you missed anything. And a lot of details are continuing to come out, and I've thrown some little details in here as well that you may have missed during that live stream. Also, we have to talk a bit about Stadia, because Stadia is out here revealing games that they shouldn't be, apparently. They leaked out a game from Ubisoft that, well, Ubisoft certainly didn't want it out there yet, as they're even going around and striking down places that are hosting images of it, and we'll go over that here today. As always, guys, if you enjoyed these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton, and if you're brand new here, hit the red subscribe button down below as we head towards 500,000 subscribers. And we are going to start today with a game that I've been waiting to hear more and more about, and that is 13. IGN, of course, is having their summer game event, and they are unveiling different things like 13 and also another game that we'll talk about here in a second. But I've been waiting to hear more about this, as Microids kind of went pretty silent really after the initial announcement that they were going to be remastering 13, which was a game back in 2003. I have it on the GameCube. I went back and checked it out. Doesn't look the greatest now, doesn't even support like progressive scan on the GameCube, so it's pretty rough. But we now have the release date. It is coming out November 10th on the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, the Switch, PC, and Mac. And you look at the screenshots, you can look at the gameplay of it here, the trailer they put out. It looks good. I mean, 13 was very, very stylish, right? It had like the cel-shaded visuals as a first-person shooter, and it would use comic panels at times to show events that were happening as you ran through levels. But it had good multiplayer online, so I'm hoping that that is also something that they focused on here with this remaster. I mean, we'll see, because that is really what will keep this game alive going forward, especially after we beat the single player. Now, the other game that IGN showed was Samurai Jack Battle Through Time. We had this announced a bit ago, and the internet went crazy. People were really, really excited to see Samurai Jack come back in video game form, as the last time we had this was back on the PlayStation 2. And the gameplay that they showed here, which you could see some of it, it looks like a PlayStation 2 game, kind of. Not like visually, obviously it looks better, but like the overall, I don't want to say just simplicity of it. It does remind me, I guess you'd say, a quote-unquote AA game, but a game from back in the day, and that's not a bad thing. That's kind of what I was looking for with something like Samurai Jack. I didn't want them to overcomplicate something, because this isn't going to be this crazy big budget blowout game. I wanted them to just kind of take Samurai Jack and make a video game out of the series again, right, in current times, and so far it looks fine. I mean, it's an action-adventure platforming style game with, you could see, obviously, combos and everything that's thrown in there, but visually it looks about what I'd expect. I didn't think they were gonna go super realistic or anything, or over the top, and I'm interested to check it out when it launches later this year. Also, we had talked previously about EA dropping games on Steam like in bunches, and they did it again, and they dropped some pretty good ones on Steam on like steep discounts. Gamatsu put together a whole list, and you can see some of it here, where it looks like they just put all the Battlefields on here. I mean, seriously, 1, 3, 4, and 5, all of them marked down. They also put Hardline, which is interesting. Mass Effect 3 and Andromeda, both of those marked down by half, and then Star Wars Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2. You know what? This is, that's pretty good. Just to see EA show up, drop stuff on Steam, which is where, I mean, realistically, a lot of people prefer just to have one launcher. I get it. And Steam is the preferred launcher right now, and Origin is one that even I'm not overly excited to have to open to play something from EA on PC. Sometimes they'll run crazy deals on Origin just to try to get you in the door, and even then I'm like, I already got Steam open. But now they're just dropping everything on Steam, and that's a good thing, right? So I hope they continue to bring stuff over, and you know what? I think they will. I think we'll have another big, like, just drop of games pretty much every other week or so until they get most of their catalog over. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're gonna start right away with the PlayStation 5 reveal event that took place yesterday. It was a little over an hour long, and they showed a ton of games, more than I thought they would, to be honest. I mean, there were a lot of like third parties and indie developers there as well, and Sony had some of their first party stuff. They really, from what I could tell, only really showed one game that we know right now appears to be launching alongside the PlayStation 5 system, and I think it's a good one to have there, but we're gonna go through them pretty quickly, and then I'm gonna circle back around to some of the bigger reveals that they had. So let's start right away. We have Spider-Man Miles Morales, and this was an interesting one to pop up because I don't think this is like Spider-Man 2. I think this is more like Infamous First Light, for example, or Uncharted Lost Legacy, or it's more of a spin-off title. And that makes sense considering they want this out this year, 2020. So I think this is going to launch basically with the PlayStation 5, or maybe even a week after or something like that. Then we have Gran Turismo 7, which was kind of expected. Ratchet & Clank, which is pretty cool. Look, I'm going to come back to that one. That's Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Project Athia, that was weird because that was from Square, and they showed some of it, but not enough to really get an idea of what exactly was going on. It looked good though. Sackboy: A Big Adventure. Glad to see that they had something for Sackboy after Dreams kind of took over Little Big Planet's creative space, we'll say. Then we have Oddworld Soulstorm. Pretty cool to see Oddworld pop up, but we already knew there was going to be Oddworld Soulstorm. We were just waiting to see exactly like where we would see it. Ghostwire Tokyo. Kind of disappointed me a bit. We'll come back to that one as well. That's coming 2021. Then we saw Godfall again because sure, why not? Godfall's still around. Solar Ash, that's coming 2021. Hitman 3 is coming 2021, actually January. So that's not too far out. That's like 7 months out. So that's not too bad. And then we have Astrobot, which that is apparently going to be preloaded on the PlayStation 5. I think that's going to be more of a tech demo type thing where they try to show off things around the DualSense, but it will already be loaded on the PlayStation 5 when you buy it, which is pretty cool to see that. And then we have Little Devil Inside, NBA 2K21, which visually looks good, but it seems like what they keep doing is just making the players more and more sweaty as the generations go along. But 2K did share that it appears the load times will be down to 2 seconds or less, which is good because people would complain about the load times for that one. Bug Snacks was also shown. Then we had the massive reveal from Bluepoint, Demon Souls. Gonna come back to that one because yeah, it looked good. Deathloop was shown here. We heard about this from Bethesda before at their E3 that everyone made fun of because the crowd was over the top. Resident Evil Village, which of course with Resident Evil 8, you can see kind of that when they kind of turn the lights out on the logo. Pragmata, which was interesting because that was one that was trademarked, I believe, like years ago or something. That was weird too. We got to see more about that one, but that won't be out for a while. That was like 2022 or something. And then we finished up with Horizon Forbidden West, and Horizon Zero Dawn 2 looks good. It looks really good. Now, they say, of course, it's all running on the PlayStation 5. Sure. I kind of wish they had done a better job to point out what part was gameplay, because I believe the part where she dives underwater and you're kind of looking like over the shoulder almost a bit, that looked like gameplay to me. And I think there will be just a state of play just around Horizon Zero Dawn 2. And I really hope it comes out this year, because as of now, all of those games that we just went through, from what I could tell, Spider-Man is the only one coming out this year. Like Gran Turismo, for example, I don't think that's coming out until that could be like 2022 or something. Even though they showed some of it here, I was hoping it would be launching with the PlayStation 5 in 2020. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but I do think there is a chance that Ratchet & Clank could come out towards the end of 2020, maybe even alongside the PlayStation 5, or at the very least, early 2021. That's the thing. Some of these games could come out a few months after the PS5 launches in, say, November, and it would still be close enough to the launch window to feel like you're picking up the system alongside the game. So let's say Spider-Man comes out launch day alongside the PS5 with a bunch of probably third-party stuff as well around it. And then in February, Ratchet & Clank launches, and then maybe a few months later, you have Horizon Zero Dawn 2, and then you start getting close to Demon's Souls, and all of a sudden, their release lineup for the first year starts to fill up. I also want to point out that Ratchet & Clank looks great. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart looked really cool when they were going through and they were changing what appeared to be dimensions, but it was like super fast and on the fly. I don't know if they were doing that just to show off how quick they can switch between different worlds, because that seems like something that would leverage the CPU and the SSD that they keep talking about. But like visually it was stunning. And then changing the landscape so rapidly in between worlds and enemies, it looks like it's going to be a wild, wild game. So I'm very excited for Ratchet & Clank and what they showed there. Now, Ghostwire Tokyo, I gotta admit, I thought it was going to be a slower paced horror style game. Instead, they show this like first person shooter almost. They're using like a lot of magic and telepathy and all this stuff. And it seemed much more action oriented than I thought it was going to be. Maybe I just thought it was going to be a different type of game, but that caught me off guard and to be honest, kind of put me off a little bit. I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it. But then we see Resident Evil Village, and that looked really good. Visually, it looked amazing, which Capcom's been doing some great stuff recently with Resident Evil with the RE engine, but like 8 is to the next level. It looked crazy. You still got to see some more gameplay and other things on it. And then of course they throw Chris in at the end and it's like, all right, I gotta see what's happening here. That's not coming out till 2021, but the role Capcom's been on, I wouldn't be surprised if that's like April 2021. And then the last really big game I want to go over is Demon's Souls. Look, we've been wondering what Blue Point's been working on for a while now, and Demon's Souls slipped out a while ago. Most of us pretty much figured that's what the big reveal would be for them. And I gotta say, it is a big undertaking for them to do Demon's Souls, but it looked good. Like if you go back, there are comparison shots of it. It looks amazing. It looks so much better than the original Demon's Souls. I'm gonna be curious if they played around with some of the controls, gameplay, any of that to make it maybe a bit smoother and a bit better to play. I wasn't a big fan of the original Demon's Souls, just the way it controlled and played. And then, you get like Bloodborne, for example, or even like some of the Souls games, and I think they controlled a bit better and were more enjoyable. So I'll be curious to see if Blue Point plays around with any of the controls and just the overall feel of the game. But hey, it was a good presentation. I liked it quite a bit. I think for just the kickoff event, because trust me, there are more events coming. There will be, I think, at least 2 more state of plays for compilations of games, because I think Horizon Zero Dawn 2 could even get its own state of play to show things off. But good way to kick things off for the software. Next up, let's move over to the hardware of the PlayStation 5, as I saw a ton of images of it from like the stream, so they're kind of grainy, but then we did get full like 4K renderings of it. Wario64 posted like a whole massive list of several different angles, and I'll give you some of them here as we go through it. But they also announced a wide range of accessories next to 2 different models for the PlayStation 5. We have one that will come with a 4K Blu-ray disc drive, and the other one will just be an all-digital system that has no disc drive at all. And I have to say, looking at the 2 of them, it to me looks like the one without the disc drive, the all-digital, looks like the original design of the PS5, and then the one with the disc drive, it looks like they just slapped it on the side and they were like, well, I mean, I guess the more symmetrical look of the all-digital model, I think just does better. I just think it looks better overall. Now, the question, of course, people are going to have looking at this is the pricing, and that is a very good question, because we assume the all-digital one will be less expensive because it doesn't have the 4K Blu-ray drive in it, which, okay, so let's say the all-digital is $400 and then the one with the drive is $500. I think that'd be okay for people, but then we come down to hard drive space, and there's still a lot of things we have to figure out when it comes to these systems in terms of specs with hard drive size, just to see if it's worth it for the price difference. Also, keep in mind that all digital model could also exist to make the 4K Blu-ray, the Ultra Blu-ray model look like it's a better value overall. So keep that in mind too. You have the model that's like this cheap okay, it's there, right? But everyone wants the really good Ultra one. That's also a strategy that you see sometimes with these systems, just overall with marketing. So I do think most people will go for the model with the disk drive, but at least that all digital model is there for anyone who maybe wants to save a bit of money when it comes down to it. And then they also took the time to introduce us to some 3D audio headphones, a media remote, wireless charging stands already that will apparently charge 2 different DualSense controllers at once, and then an HD camera that I'm sure is probably going to be used in some way with the PlayStation VR 2 that, hey, that could be a whole state of play on its own as well. As for the system though, I've been looking at it more and more, and you know what? I think if it was more symmetrical like what we see with the all-digital model, it's growing on me a little bit. I think this system is a little bigger than a lot of people are realizing as well. If you kind of match it up next to controller, I think it's taller than the Series X. So we're gonna need some measurements on this system because someone's gonna have to kind of make a mock-up of it just to see how large it is. And then of course we'll get down to how much does it weigh and how much overall space does it take up. But I think just looking at it, it's grown on me a little bit already. I like the blue accents with the lighting around kind of the vents at the top. And I think I will be standing it up because on its side, it just looks strange. I guess it's gonna come with like this little platform that you put it on. I have no idea how it even locks into place with that. But all right, so far interesting at least with Sony and going pretty wild, I would say, with their PlayStation 5 design. But just in an hour's worth of time, a ton of games, accessories, and 2 different models for the PlayStation 5. A lot happened yesterday. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Gods and Monsters because it was leaked. It's a strange thing to see, but apparently Stadia flipped the switch early and people were able to access Gods and Monsters that was codenamed Orpheus, it seemed. It's very strange, but people were posting gameplay up online. I can't show it to you because Ubisoft's just been ripping stuff down. I can show you some of the trailer they put out while I'm talking about it, but people were showing off the gameplay on Twitter and different forums, and it looks kind of like a mix between Assassin's Creed Odyssey because it looks like they're even using some of the assets from it, and Breath of the Wild. You have a full stamina wheel as you climb or apparently run and everything. It'll kind of tick down. It looks just like a little circle like Breath of the Wild. And from what I saw, at least looks interesting. I'm even more interested in it now, I'll say, than I was before when they showed a very small snippet of it. But it, like most of Ubisoft's games, were delayed. It's supposed to come out before March 2021, and I expect fully to see it at Ubisoft's event in a month or so. And we'll finish up with a comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Christopher saying, man, sure would be nice to see something new for Beyond Good and Evil. Yes, Beyond Good and Evil. That is, wow. Wonder what happened to that game. Look, we'll find out a lot either way about Beyond Good and Evil next month when Ubisoft holds their event, because if it is not there, that game is in trouble, straight up. I have to imagine it will be. I almost thought they were like just about ready to go already because they showed gameplay for the thing. It was a little bit, but they still showed it. Remember they had a character get out of the ship and fly around and then get back in, and it was like a live stream. I have no idea, but it seemed like Ubisoft was kind of banging their head against the wall because sales were kind of declining and their monthly active users were down. And that's what happens when you make like 20 live service games and try to get the same people to play all of them. I kind of hope Beyond Good and Evil turned into more of a single player experience that's all story driven, because it looked like they're going in an opposite direction and trying to kind of form it to the Ubisoft formula. We'll see though next month when Ubisoft holds their event, and I'm hoping Beyond Good and Evil 2 is there, and it looks a lot different. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike, leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it is the big PlayStation 5 reveal event, the games, let me know what you think about those. Do you think they need something else to launch alongside of the PlayStation 5 with their first party studios like Horizon Zero Dawn 2? I still think that could launch, but most likely it'll be Ratchet and Clank. But let me know if they need a little bit more next to Spider-Man there. And then what do you think about the system, of course? And then Google Stadia, leaking Gods and Monsters. It's not a place I would even think about for being a game leaking out from, but it's just another place that some of these publishers have to be worried about if they have their games just sitting on their servers. Thanks guys for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for Newswave.